Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going on a wild ride through the world of construction projects so baffling, so mind-bogglingly pointless, that you'll wonder if someone spiked the planning committee's coffee with truth serum. We're talking bridges to nowhere, malls the size of small cities that sit eerily empty, and airports that make ghost towns look bustling. And the best part? These head-scratchers came with eye-watering price tags that'll make you want to weep into your wallet. Buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into a world where millions, sometimes billions of dollars vanish into thin air, leaving behind nothing but concrete monuments to questionable decision-making. Our first stop takes us to the icy plains of Alaska, home to the infamous Bridge to Nowhere. Now you might be thinking, a bridge to nowhere? That sounds like a metaphor for my dating life. And you wouldn't be entirely wrong. This $398 million behemoth was supposed to connect the town of Ketchikan to Gravina Island, which, and here's the kicker, already had a perfectly functional ferry service. Yes, you heard that right. They spent almost $500 million on a bridge to replace a ferry that cost a fraction of the price to operate. It's like buying a solid gold bicycle when you already have a perfectly good pair of roller skates. The project, thankfully, was scrapped after public outcry, but not before a significant chunk of change had already been spent. The Bridge to Nowhere stands today as a shining example of pork barrel spending at its finest, a concrete testament to the fact that sometimes the best laid plans should just be left on the drawing board. Next, we hop on over to the bustling metropolis of Dongguan, China, home to the new South China Mall, a shopping centre so gargantuan it could swallow the Mall of America whole and still have room for a couple of food courts. This retail behemoth boasts over 7 million square feet of retail space, enough to house a small country, or at least a very well-stocked flea market. But here's the rub. Since its grand opening in 2005, the new South China Mall has remained eerily, almost post-apocalyptically empty. We're talking tumbleweeds rolling down the polished marble floors, echoes bouncing off the vacant storefronts kind of empty. It's like that dream you have where you're the only person left on Earth, except instead of being in a library, you're surrounded by discounted designer handbags and the faint scent of despair. The project, a staggering $1.3 billion investment, stands as a stark reminder that just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. Fasten your seatbelts because we're jetting off to Spain, where we'll be landing, or rather not landing, at the Ciudad Real Central Airport. This architectural marvel, once envisioned as a bustling international hub, quickly became the poster child for Spain's economic woes. Built at a cost of €1 billion, the airport boasted a runway long enough to accommodate the Airbus A380 luxury terminals and enough parking space to house a small army of abandoned luggage carts. The problem? Hardly anyone used it. For the 3 glorious years it was operational, the airport saw fewer passengers than a medium-sized Starbucks on a Monday morning. It was like throwing a party and forgetting to send out the invitations, except the party cost €1 billion, and the only guests were a few confused pigeons. Eventually the airport was sold for a paltry €56 million, a fraction of its original cost, proving that sometimes even the most ambitious dreams can crash and burn. Our next stop takes us to the enigmatic nation of North Korea, where we'll be visiting the Ryugyong Hotel, a towering pyramid of ambition that's become more of a national punchline than a symbol of progress. Construction on this 105-story behemoth began in 1987, fueled by the grand vision of the late Kim Il-sung, who wanted to create a structure that would make the rest of the world tremble in awe. The price tag? A cool $750 million, a hefty sum for a country grappling with economic sanctions and chronic food shortages. But alas, it wasn't meant to be. Construction was plagued by delays, halted in 1992 due to a lack of funds and materials, and the building sat unfinished for over a decade, looming over Pyongyang like a concrete ghost. While work has resumed in fits and starts over the years, the Ryugyong Hotel remains a potent symbol of unfulfilled promises and the perils of unchecked ambition. From the towering skyscrapers of Pyongyang, we journey to the sunny shores of Los Angeles, where a different kind of disaster unfolded. The infamous Echo Park Lotus Festival of 2013. Now, Los Angeles is no stranger to extravagant events, but this particular festival took the proverbial cake, and then promptly threw it in the dumpster fire of bad ideas. The organisers, in their infinite wisdom, decided to hold the festival, which celebrates the blooming of lotus flowers in July. July, as any botanist will tell you, is not exactly peak lotus blooming season in Los Angeles. The result, a $4 million spectacle of wilted expectations and disappointed tourists. The lotus flowers, the supposed stars of the show, were about as lively as a cardboard cutout, and the crowds were thinner than a politician's promises. It was a masterclass in how not to throw a festival, a cautionary tale about the dangers of ignoring basic botany and common sense. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to dive into the wild world of American prison politics with a visit to Hardin, Montana, home to a $27 million detention center that's as empty as a politician's promises. This sprawling facility, built to house an influx of federal inmates, was completed in 2007, but there was just one tiny problem: no one to put in it. That's right, in a move that would make even the most incompetent wedding planner blush. The federal government forgot to secure any agreements for prisoner placement before building the damn thing. So there it sat, a gleaming monument to bureaucratic ineptitude, costing taxpayers thousands of dollars a day to maintain, all while actual prisons across the country were bursting at the seams. It's enough to make you question whether anyone in charge has ever actually seen a game of Tetris, let alone mastered the art of strategic planning. Next, we're strapping on our virtual reality headsets and venturing into the digital wasteland that is the Virtual Fence Project, a technological marvel that promised to secure America's borders with the power of lasers, sensors, and enough fiber optic cable to circle the Earth twice. Launched in 2006 with a budget of $1 billion, the project aimed to create a high-tech surveillance system that would detect and deter illegal crossings along the US-Mexico border. However, much like a Tinder date that looked promising online, the virtual fence turned out to be a bit of a letdown in real life. Plagued by technical glitches, cost overruns, and the inconvenient reality that you can't really stop a determined human being with a PowerPoint presentation, the project was eventually scrapped in 2011, leaving behind a legacy of broken promises and a whole lot of unused surveillance equipment. Hold on to your passports, because we're taking a quick trip up north to the Great White North, where we'll be visiting the Montreal Mirabel International Airport. A sprawling testament to the fact that even the best-laid plans can go horribly, hilariously wrong. Built in the 1970s at a cost of $500 million, Mirabel was envisioned as a state-of-the-art aviation hub, a gateway to the world that would rival the likes of Heathrow and JFK. However, there was just one tiny problem: no one really wanted to fly there. Plagued by its remote location, poor connections to public transportation, and the fact that most travellers preferred the convenience of Montreal's existing airport, Mirabel quickly became the aviation equivalent of that friend's house that no one wants to go to because it's too far away. Passenger traffic dwindled, airlines pulled out, and the once bustling terminals took on the eerie silence of a post-apocalyptic shopping mall. From the icy runways of Canada, we're transporting ourselves to the landlocked nation of Afghanistan, where, in a move that can only be described as peak American ingenuity, the US government decided to build, wait for it, lifeguard towers. Yes, you heard that right, lifeguard towers, in a country where the most common body of water is a puddle after a rainstorm. The project, which cost a cool $3 million, was part of a larger effort to promote tourism in Afghanistan, because apparently nothing screams fun in the sun like a lifeguard tower in the middle of a desert. Unsurprisingly, the lifeguard towers were about as effective at attracting tourists as a vegan barbecue festival, and the project was quietly swept under the rug, leaving behind a legacy of bewilderment and a few very confused camels. And finally, we wrap up our tour of disastrously expensive projects with a visit to the sun-drenched plains of America, where a project that promised to revolutionize transportation met a rather unceremonious end. The Solar Roadways Project, a brainchild of husband and wife team Scott and Julie Broussard, captured the imaginations of millions with its audacious vision, paving America's roads with solar panels that would generate clean energy and power our cars. The project garnered significant media attention, crowdfunding support, and even a $4.4 million grant from the US Department of Transportation. However, the reality of solar roadways proved to be a bit less glamorous than the hype. Technical challenges, exorbitant costs, and the minor inconvenience of solar panels being notoriously slippery when wet quickly dampened the enthusiasm, and the project stalled, leaving behind a trail of broken promises and a whole lot of scratched-up Teslas. And there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of some of the most spectacularly useless projects ever conceived by the human mind. From bridges to nowhere to airports that made ghost towns look bustling, we've seen it all, and we've learned one very important lesson. Sometimes the best thing you can do with $1 billion is to just set it on fire and watch it burn. It'll be far more entertaining, and you'll definitely have a better story to tell at parties. So the next time you're tempted to complain about that pothole on your street, just remember, it could be worse. You could be living in a world where someone decided to build a lifeguard tower in the middle of the desert. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for more adventures in the absurd.